Welcome to Financial Strategies for Seniors, a program designed to help you assure that what you care about is in order for those people you care about, while taking care of the important things in your life and not losing any continuity in life. All too often, people get boggled down trying to do the right thing, but they forget about living. This is a program to help you assure that doesn't happen. This is not event-driven. This is process-driven. And for everybody listening and watching the program today, we all have to be cognizant of the fact that if we don't move forward in the direction of our dreams, nobody's going to move forward for us. We have to do it on our own. And Peter and I are those people that are going to try to help you navigate the waters ahead. Each week, we're going to have a different guest. Each week we'll cover different topics, and I want you to call in. We'll put the number up later. I want you to call in with questions you may have, with topics you want to discuss, because we are here to help you. My business partner, my best friend, and my co-host is Peter Janowski. Peter Janowski and I have worked for over 20 years together. We're involved in everything, both personally and business-wise, and this is considered extracurricular. But the purpose of programs like this are to help you, to help our viewers maintain the life they want to maintain as a senior. All too often, scams, and we're going to talk about scams, come in and just destroy somebody's life, things that could be avoided. Our program, as we go on week after week, is to help you assure that that won't happen. Peter, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, this is a pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. It's wonderful. Good morning, everybody, and good morning to our guest, Jack Schnirman, who was going to give us a lot of information today. I'm a resident of Nassau County, one of 1.3 million people, one of the largest counties in the country. And I'm sure you're busy these days, and you could give us a current state of the county and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this, actually.
Sure. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. John, those were just beautiful, beautiful thoughts, and I think it's such a wonderful encapsulation of the approach to public service.
Thank you. Now I have to remember them for next week.
and it's really all about taking care of people and doing the right thing, and that's what is so motivational, to get up out of bed every morning and go do the sometimes incredibly challenging work that we do. So just, really quickly about me, I'm born and raised on Long Island, first in my family to go to graduate from a four-year university, almost full financial aid, need-based financial aid, which I couldn't believe in more. A whole conversation for another day is about, the crushing burden of student debt, and it's one of the things that gets overlooked when you think about financial issues that challenge people, not just as they're young, but as a financial issue moving all throughout different phases of life. I went down to Washington, D.C., bright-eyed and bushy-tailed after college, and I worked on Capitol Hill for a couple of years.
What did you do down there?
Thank you for asking. I worked for...
I had no idea. I really didn't.
First for Senator Frank Lautenberg, who was retiring at the time, and then came back again. He's just a really terrific, talk about longevity in a career, really dynamic man. And then I worked for Senator John Kerry, who really was doing some incredibly smart, cutting edge work before he later became Secretary of State.
I'm just going to interrupt you. Those are two big names. Somebody watching this program, how did you reach out to Kerry to wind up working with him? Now, if you had some connection, that's fine.
That's a great question. So when I got to Washington, D.C., I got to say it was not glamorous. I pounded the pavement and handed out resumes, as far as the eye could see, and it was a really tough and a really tough time. And a lot of interviews later, you get in the door, and then you hear there's another opening, and you make a push, and you find yourself in that wonderful position that happens sometimes in life in a wonderful way, which is, wow, I feel like I'm in over my head. This is this is a really challenging position in a really challenging environment, and that's where we learn, and that's where we I think can do find out how much we can do and how much there is to do. And I found out that there's a really incredible opportunity to make a difference. When Senator Kerry was not picked to be Vice President Gore's running mate in the 2000 election, I started my applications for graduate school thinking I want to learn how to make organizations work better, how to make organizations more efficient, how to, some people like to tinker with cars and flip under the hood and, make the engine do this and that. And I'm not that handy with cars, but I like to do the same things with organizations. So I went back to school. I went to Harvard University to the Kennedy School of Government. I got a master's in public policy. And it was a wonderful experience and a great opportunity to really learn how to make the kind of difference that I'd like to see in the world. And after ultimately came back home to Long Island and found myself getting involved in local government in some very challenging situations. First in the town of Brookhaven, which had formerly been known as Crookhaven, and brought in some programs there to bring performance management and 311 just the way North Hempstead has and does a beautiful job with, and take that data focus into government. And I did that in Brookhaven, and then I came to Long Beach and did that there as well, a city that I had a challenging task of being there at the time in my first year where Superstorm Sandy hit, and rebuilding, working to rebuild that city stronger, smarter, safer, building that brand new boardwalk, more resilient than ever before and fully federally funded. And then I looked at Nassau County and said, Nassau County's not working as well as it could. And I had this crazy idea to say, I could help make it better. And so I joined Laura Kern and I ran for Nassau County Comptroller. It was the first time I ever ran for office. And here we are in our fourth year, and we have, really done some work that I'm proud of. We've set out to do 4 things.
Right. We're not going to go there yet.
Okay.
I don't know, because you have a lot of stuff. And I remember when I first met Jack, it was at an event with Kathleen Rice when she was running for Congress, and she still is in Congress. What I want to take a moment now is just for people who are watching this program to acknowledge your path, because even a young person, this is how people evolve. You don't just get a job. That's why I was very curious. Peter and I so much enjoy listening to the background. You didn't turn around and say, well, I called Kerry because my uncle is his best friend, and he said, what's your name? Come on down. And 3 years later, somebody else said, oh, Jack, you're so-and-so's cousin. Come on over. Those kind of situations, in my mind, rarely work in life. The situations that work is when somebody like you and other people are basically personally driven, okay? You didn't just pick up the phone and say, Daddy, help me. The fact that you wound up going to Harvard, I think that's tremendous. You obviously have the grades, but even if you didn't go to Harvard, I'm not knocking any school. You went back to school to follow a dream, and that's where we're going with this program on a weekly basis. People, and I don't care what age you are. You can have a dream at your age, young, going back, or you can have 35, 45, 55. It's never the wrong time, as you say. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
And if that's where you're going, you go with it. So now you can go on a little bit more. But I just, I think it's so important, because we, on this program, are going to be picking very successful people, but we call it you own it. It wasn't given to you. Everything you have earned, Jack, and you own it, and you're doing a tremendous job with everything, and you should be proud, and your whole family should be proud.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me, and I couldn't agree with you more. You've got to own it and just go for what you want and do your best to make a difference. And that's just the sort of the way I look at the world. And so with that, my thought is, if you're going to run for office, you got to do so for a reason. Because the job is hard. It's not always, it's often thankless. It's not really forgiving. And so you got to know why you're there. So I ran to do 4 things, and we talked about them when I ran for office. We talked about them my first day of office. We've talked about them, we've given annual updates on our progress. And here's what those 4 are really quick. Number 1, we need to open up and modernize Nassau County government and its finances. What do I mean by that? In the year before I ran for office, Nassau County got a D- in transparency. Not good grades. Not good grades.
Okay.
And it used to be, you had to sort of fill out this Freedom of Information request if you wanted, access to information in Nassau County and go through boxes of papers, maybe in a basement, maybe in an attic, and it was really cumbersome. And that's not the way it's supposed to work. And so now we have a transparency portal, opennassau.nassaucountiny.gov. And right there, you can look at the money that Nassau spends. You can look at everything that's going on, all the checks that are being written, and that's the way it's supposed to work. North Hempstead works the same way. This is the way municipalities around the country that are well run should run. Most of us now have computers or laptops or tablets or smartphones.
Right.
I'm a big Mets fan. I follow all of our Mets stats on my phone or on my tablet. I look at my banking that way too. There's no reason that we can't look at our key statistics for government, how we're doing, what's going right, what's going wrong, what we're spending. We've got to be able to look at that electronically there as with government as well. And now finally we can. So that was our number one goal.
Before we go a little further, I want to take this down to my level. I can log in somehow, get a code word or a password, and then actually go in and say, I want to see how much Jack approved this park to be paid, or some renovation that occurred, and I'll see a check for $127,000 made out to XYZ.
Okay,
That's right.
I actually have a question. Do you see revenues as well?
Yes. So we see. First of all, I would just say you don't need a code word. Anybody can go take a look. So
Well, let's take technology out of this conversation. For his
You
sake.
can see expenditures. You can see revenues. You can see the budget. You can see what's spent on personnel. We put on actually a scorecard. As a baseball fan, we made it like a baseball-style scorecard. A scorecard of the top statistics that encapsulate what's going well and what's not. The key numbers to the game, so to speak, that we look at. You can see those as to how Nassau County's finances are going. Are they red? Are they green? Are they yellow? Are they going in the right direction? Are they going in the wrong direction? And we update those a couple of times a year. So there's a significant amount of information, and it's really, really easy to look at. Wow. If there's people sometimes who have a question about Nassau County government or want to get a sense of where their pet issue is going, they'll ask me, "Can you give me the inside numbers?" And I always answer the same way. So take a look at opennassau.nassaucountiny.ny.gov with me, and we're going to look at the numbers together. You'll see every number that I see at the same time that I see it. We'll look at it together. And that really sort of demystifies the way things work, and that's the way government ought to be.
Oh, it's amazing. It really is something like that.
I'm surprised we didn't know about it.
I didn't.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm here to have that conversation.
That is the point of the program. There's so much stuff that goes on that people don't know what's going on. And I'm sure there's a conversation going on in the last week someplace. Who knows what Jack's spending money on? Who knows what's going on here? Who knows? Waste to waste to waste.
Right.
Well, now they can figure it out where it is.
And you'll be able to see with the federal money coming down the pike, you see what's going on there, all the different ins and outs. There's so much happening. You can see what you're getting for your tax dollars, and I think that's really important, right? And we'll keep working to update it and make it better. You should be able to see what money's being spent in this area of the county or that area of the county. The easier it is to follow, the more trust is built in government, and the more you understand the value that you're getting, and you can ask the tough questions that you might want to ask about the value that you're getting.
That's the most important part of it, because you're not making it up. You actually see, and so therefore a question I may have is coming at least from a premise of, I saw you wrote the check, it seems to have been more than was anticipated, or it was less, which is great too. Then you can have an educated conversation as to why maybe a piece of a project may have been taken out.
That's right.
Or a more important thing was added to it with your approval, but everybody knows about it.
Yep. And I would just say, now that we have this tool available, just like any other tool, it's only as good as how often it's used.
Right.
So that when we're having a conversation, and even when people are having a disagreement over an issue, just like we have a screen behind us now, where I'd like us to get to as a county is that behind us in every conversation is a screen with Open Nassau on it. So we can look at the numbers and have a real numbers, fact-based conversation about everything that we're doing. I want more public safety. I think we need more parks. I think we need whatever your values are, that they can be backed up by data, by facts, and it can really empower not only elected officials, but anybody in the public to have an effective discussion about our priorities and what our initiatives ought to be and what we're doing.
I'm sorry. I'm amazed. I didn't know this existed. And just out of curiosity, does it exist on a town level, there's 3 towns in Nassau County. Do they have the same transparency?
One of them does. North Hempstead does, and North Hempstead, to its credit, and we gave to its credit, was first. And I think credit belongs where credit's due there. Supervisor Bosworth was first out of the gate with a program like this, and North Hempstead has its checkbook, so to speak, online. I believe the town of Hempstead has been moving in that sort of direction. I'm not to be fair, I'm not 100% sure what they're doing, but from my perspective, this is something that everybody should have. Since I've been working in government now almost 2 decades. I feel, I'm not as young as I used to be, and one of the things that I've seen, and just like everything else in life, the technology's gotten better, and the costs have gone down. And as that happens, it means that this is available, and there's no excuse for not making this sort of financial transparency, or just transparency in general, available to empower all residents. And if there's any municipality out there that would like to do this, or if you as a resident would like to see your municipality do that, please give our office a call, and we are happy to talk to you about it and to give you the tools to make it happen. You can always drop us an email at reportitreformit at nassaucountiny.gov. We're there for you anytime.
Perfect. Actually, I'm going to switch topics now because I want to talk about something. But you mentioned Judy Bosworth, and I'm within the town of North Hempstead, as you know. And that woman, really, she came on X number of years ago, is the most transparent, and I'm not putting you in any position, or Laura Carr, or anybody else, but Judy Bosworth got the job done. She wanted everybody on the same page, and she's fought for it. And she really, it's a credit to her that North Hempstead has done tremendous, and will continue, as is Nassau County, as we are all moving forward, which I've seen over the last X number of years, just in a very, very positive, open way. Because you can't have good government, in my opinion, with nobody knowing what's going on except for the 2 or 3 people at the top. We need to work together. We also need to work together in reference to North Shore TV. And one thing I want to talk about, I want to show this. North Shore TV has these wonderful facial masks, if you call them facial masks, or in reference to COVID, which is going on right now. And everybody who watches and sees the paper knows the numbers are going up again. And it's very difficult. Things get canceled all the time. We're back in the same throes. Is it as bad from a death perspective? No, but it's not over. But it's programming like this that is going to continue to help people learn. And what we're trying to start today, we're doing it. We're asking people to send in $11.11 on a monthly basis. It's not a lot of money, and I'm not questioning anybody's money. But 1111 is important for 2 reasons. 1111 Marcus Avenue is the address that we're at right now. So that's where the studio is, 1111 Marcus Avenue, New Hyde Park, New York. And unfortunately, I don't know the zip code, but we'll put it up later in the show, the zip code. Also, 1111, and I'm not going to get off the tangent because we're talking money and we're talking, serious stuff, but 1111 is a very spiritual, connected number in both astrology, numerology, and with angel work. And I say, we're not going there. I have a very different background than a lot of people. Besides doing this with Peter as a financial advisor, I have a master's in gerontology, which is the study of aging, thanatology, which is the study of death, and I'm a Reiki master and a chakra master. So I am all over the place, but I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And people, I'll bet you anybody watching this show has seen 1111 at different times in their life. 1111 is a call to pay attention to your intuition. 1111 is a call to say, what was I just thinking about? What do I want to think about? Okay, there's just a lot of information with 1111. We're going to talk about it more and more each week. But I just want to touch on it today and get the ball rolling that it's not a fortune. $11.11 shows you care, shows you're listening, and shows we're going to keep shows like this going, where you have someone like Jack who has a busy day. There's no question about it. He's one of the most significant people in Nassau County, but yet, when Peter and I reached out to Jack, he said, to help the people, I'm there. That's my job. I want to be there as much as I can. And we need you to be there as much as you can to support our station. I'm committing to it. Peter's committing to it. I can't put Jack on the spot. I won't put any guest on the spot because it's not a right thing to do. But I'm sure he's going to do it. That's not the point. But the important thing is 1111 Marcus Avenue is the address here, and $11.11 is all we're asking you for. And you see, as you write that check, things will change. You have to believe, okay? We're not here for nothing. We're here for a bigger reason. Jack is talking about it today. Peter talks about it. I talk about it. We are on the face of this earth for a purpose, and that purpose is to help each other. And that $11.11 is going to help North Shore TV, and that 1111 is going to help you. So that was my PSA, because I believe in it, and I think it's very important that we all work together. We're going to go back to Jack, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't have the exact title for the pharmaceutical plan. You tell me what you want to do.
I have a question before we do that, because I asked you previously about the transparency of seeing revenues. So maybe you can answer the question, give us this current state of the county, and also my question is, what's going on with sales tax, and has all the brick and mortar, this is not just Nassau County, but obviously internet sales, shopping has hurt brick and mortar. What has it done to Nassau County? Is it hurting on sales tax and real estate taxes? Just, open-ended question there.
Before you go there, I think my thing was much easier. Sorry, Jack. Now you got the tough question.
You got it. So this is the heart of my job. So I'm going to try to encapsulate where we are financially, and I'll speak specifically to sales tax as well. So let's start, I'll give the really fast history. Before we took office in 2000, which was 2017, in 2017, Nassau County ran a $122 million deficit. Not so good. That's pretty bad, in fact. And one of the challenges that were happening then is that in county government, leaders were disagreeing over the financial definition of deficits and surplus, and sort of playing fast and loose with that. And so we said, when I came in, we're going to talk about things one way. It's called generally accepted accounting principles, and it's the national standard. We're going to keep to it, and we're always going to speak sort of apples to apples so we can compare ourselves over time. So in 17, we were negative 122. In 2018, still negative, but better, negative 27.5.
That's tremendous.
Wow, it's $100 million.
2019, the year before COVID, positive 145.3. Now let's talk about 2020, the year of COVID, a year that we expected to be, candidly, the worst ever, right? We had a tremendous financial crisis, brought on by the pandemic, and the pandemic obviously shutting down our economy and forcing us all to shelter in place. So we invested in my office in sales tax forecasting and built a model with a firm to look at all the different factors in the economy, what's going on in all the different sectors of the economy, and figure out where we're at any given time. And at the end of at one point in 2020, we were looking at a trajectory that would have ended up with a $340 million deficit for 2020, which would have been just devastating. And in the end results were not devastating in 2020. It was a $128 million surplus. Let's talk about how we got there, because there's no magic. Most importantly, we avoided ugly things like tax hikes, service cuts, and layoffs. So let's talk about what happened. What went right that could have gone wrong? First of all, we got some money from the federal government in the CARES Act. That was not a foregone conclusion. $100 million there. Then sales tax ended up not being as bad as we thought it was going to be. It got really bad at certain over the spring into the summer, and then it didn't certainly get back to historical norms, but it started to improve. The bleeding wasn't as bad as we thought that it was going to be. Then what else happened? Nassau County was able to refinance some debt, just like homeowners refinance their homes, and that refinancing kicked in a lot of savings, and that was really quite helpful. And Nassau County was smart in holding down expenses as well as it could, and I give a lot of credit to County Executive Laura Kern there for doing what was necessary to keep things on an even track. From my perspective, that is textbook good financial management. What do I mean? When you're having a crisis, rule number one is have as much cash on hand as you can to make sure that you can navigate the crisis. And that's what Nassau County did, and it was able to navigate that crisis in 2020. And the crisis doesn't go away instantly, certainly, and it's not all sunshine and roses, but we were able to avoid the worst of the pain, and I think that is a credit to good governance and to good management. Now let's talk about where we are today in 2021. My office just put out our mid-year financial report, and we are projecting that we are on track right now to run just under an $80 million surplus for 2021. That's obviously very good news.
That's without any more money from the CARES Act. That's on your own.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is on our own. And it's affected, but we're still getting savings from that refinancing. But in addition to the $80 million, any money in sales tax this year that comes in over budget will go into a reserve fund. So we are projecting that we're going to be close to $295 million over in sales tax because the economy has come back at a faster rate than expected. And that money can be kept in that special reserve fund to handle financial things that need to be handled, to pay down the tax certiorari debt and the assessment issues that have been a challenge for decades in Nassau County, or any other priority is set. And so my office went the extra mile and put out a report saying, let's think about guiding principles to make some smart investments in this time. Because between the sales tax money coming in and all the federal money coming in, we're actually going to have a significant amount of cash on hand as a county, and we've got to be smart with it. Just like homeowners have to be smart when at a time like this, we've got to make investments that are going to solve our long-term problems, that are going to take care of our people who are in need, that are going to bring returns to our county and make our county the place that we want to live, and not just sort of fritter the money away. And that is such an important priority and a challenge for Nassau County over the course of the coming years, because this money gives us an opportunity to do things the right way and to be smart. But if we're not smart with the money, we won't have anything to show for it, and we'll still have the same old problems. And that would really be unfortunate. So from a pure, I'm always cautious speaking about an opportunity in a crisis, right? COVID is a crisis on a public health level and a crisis on an economic level. But looking purely at the county's finances, in addition to the initial crisis, we now see an opportunity to make some long-term improvements. And those have to be things that really pay benefits for all of our residents. And I'm hopeful that we'll see the county go on that track. So there's some good news ahead. And the short story is on sales tax, which we watch incredibly closely. It went from red to yellow, and now it's green, and we're watching it closely, but it is growing in the right direction. We're not only ahead of 2020's pace, obviously, in sales tax, but we're significantly ahead of 2019's. And I'll just finish by answering the question about internet sales tax. One of the things that New York State did not too long before COVID is set up the situation where now sales tax is paid on purchases from out of state. And before, our mom and pop shops, our small businesses were really disadvantaged in that they were charging sales tax. But if you bought something from out of state, right? I was going to buy a tennis racket. I was excited to buy it. I ended up buying it. I think it's Syosset, and I was very proud of that. But if I bought it online at the time, I wouldn't have paid sales tax. Now that playing field is level. And so it does two things. First of all, it levels the playing field for our local businesses, number one. But number two, it brings in revenue. So when you do order that thing from out of state online, it brings in revenue. And we've seen, I think the numbers I've seen are, the initial numbers are over 5% increase in sales tax revenues just based on that internet sales tax alone. And obviously, during COVID, people were ordering online a lot more. So that was really good timing on that in terms of the local economy.
My personal opinion is I don't think people pay, maybe they do, pay too much attention to the fact of whether they're paying sales tax on Amazon or not. It's the convenience. So I agree. It's a benefit to get the money here versus losing it.
That's
but,
right.
No, I agree with you. It's bottom line price and convenience of what people looking at on internet shopping. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just had one question. When you said the number was $295 million, and it's important to see where we're going to invest that. What restrictions do you have? Do you have restrictions? I mean, you're not going out and buying a stock portfolio. I understand that. But like from a governmental, that money's important for the future. What are your restrictions?
Well, that's a great question. So first of all, that money is now in a reserve fund, or I should say it will be going into a reserve fund as it comes in, because that's money that we're projecting will happen.
Right.
Hasn't happened yet.
I understand.
The economy goes south, or if something, things can always change. So it's in a reserve fund to be used only for certain things, whether it's tax certiorari payments or if there's expenditures due to COVID that are over, and a couple of other specific expenditures like that for the sales tax.
Okay.
We also have the federal money coming in the the federal relief package that was passed just a few months ago. I think some upwards of $300 and something million coming in there. So that's a significant amount of money, right? We're going to invest it, look at things like infrastructure, look at things like technology that make it easier for residents to interface with government, that lowers government's cost, makes life easier going forward. Investing the money directly into communities where we can see a real return on that investment. We want to do things that are smart. What we don't want to do is invest it in ways that we can't keep up, right? If you get some money and you start investing it in a way that you start a program that you fund for 1 year, but suddenly you can't fund it for years 2, 3, and 4, that creates a gap, a structural gap. That's an imbalance going forward, right? Just like if you come into some money at home and you buy an expensive car, or you buy a new house, and you can do the down payment, but the mortgage, the interest, the payments, you can't handle them in the coming years. That's what we have to avoid, right? You don't want to bite off more today when you're flush than you can chew tomorrow.
You want to keep it in a budget.
That's
you
exactly
can't go out of the
right.
budget.
Yeah, it's got to be sustainable.
Yeah.
That's something that you and I, Peter and I, talk about all the time when we're with clients. And a situation has come up. They've come into money, whatever they've done. And we basically tell them, relax. You're in good shape. But you're not going to buy a Bentley, because then that throws everything off. But you'll get a regular car. You'll get something. You have to live within your means, accept what your means are, and you're going to do fine. Right. The person who has the Bentley, it's a whole different world, which is fine for them. But we, meaning individuals, the county, whatever it is, the townships, they have to live within the means, and they will do so very successfully by monitoring, like you're doing, the money that's coming in, making sure it's not squandered, so to speak, and going forward.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. New York City's getting beat up right now by smart financial folks, because because some people are saying that New York City is spending money today that they're not going to be able to keep up with tomorrow. Right. Oh, yeah. And I think it's important here in Nassau County that we make sure we avoid those kind of mistakes, and I think that we will.
That's the most important thing. I'm agreeing with you there.
Yeah.
That it happens. And again, I'm not putting the county on the level with a person, but it's a very easy slip to turn around and say, oh, I can afford that, because you can. You took a little something off the top.
That's right.
So you're not paying attention that we dwindled a bit. And then we can. And then next thing you know, you're in trouble, and it was a slow decline.
Yep.
But we got there, and as you said, we got there going back to 2017. That was a disaster. When you took over, that was a disastrous number. And look where we are today through it. A disastrous time in our history, but we're basically out of it. Now the important thing is to maintain.
That's right.
That's the way I'm looking at it.
And learn from it. Speaking about saving money, I understand there's some kind of new prescription card that could help
yes.
county residents that we could talk about a little bit.
I am so happy that you brought this up, and it's something that I think is really important for everybody, and it's really beneficial to seniors. It's called the Live Healthy Discount Program, and I'm going to show the picture over here. It's the livehealthycard.com, and I'll tell a little bit about it. And again, the website is livehealthycard.com. Nice and easy to sign up for. We've been able to secure through the Comptroller's office the county's participation with the National Association of Counties in this Live Healthy discount program. It's a free program. Most important thing to know about it is free. It provides a variety of healthful discounts for county residents at over 66,000 pharmacies at home and nationwide.
You know, I'm going to interrupt, if you don't mind. This is a huge program.
Yes.
And we're going to take more than a few minutes to talk about it. So I just want to take another break for North Shore TV.
Terrific.
So that I really want to focus on this. I don't want to just give you a few minutes and interrupt. And I apologize because I didn't give you the time schedule. We're still going after my 1111, okay? And we're going to talk about it each week. 1111 Marcus Avenue is the address for North Shore TV, 1111 Marcus Avenue in New Hyde Park. 1111, and I talked about it earlier, and we're going to have somebody on. And even here within North Shore TV, we have Grace. And Grace is a wonderful, wonderful woman who does programs all the time in reference to spirituality and getting connected, in reference to intuition. There's so many things that are touched upon. And this is very true, even if you don't think you're benefiting by sending $11.11 in, somebody else is, because that is it's a terrible word to say, the weirdness of some new age things. You don't understand who's benefiting. I'm going to send in a check for $11.11, and 2 days from now, something happens positively to somebody I know. And I'm saying, yeah, because I thought of you. I wrote a check and I said, I hope Susie feels better. I wrote a check and I hope that, somebody's back is better, somebody's leg is better. Put your intention into it, and it works out. Also, besides just the $11.11, I'm giving out our phone number, which is it's terrible that I have to look, 516-719-6396. That's our work number, 516-719-6396, and Peter's is 6397. Call that number for a topic you want brought up in the future, okay? Whether it's a person you would like on, a topic, a situation, anything you want talked about. I mean, the fact that we got Jack here as our premier is just tremendous, but it shows the power of people wanting to participate. And Jack, I thank you so much. But also, people are here to help. And I'm going to say it over and over. Peter and I are always here to help. It's just answering questions. All too often we find that people have a full stock portfolio and then things go bad and they didn't realize. Years ago, we were in a 401k situation and the stocks kept going up, or the account kept going up, and the woman was amazed.
A participant he's referring to.
Yeah, a participant. She had stocks. She had no idea what she had. And then all of a sudden, when things go bad, she's going to be shocked. I was like, what, are you kidding me? You're all in stocks, and the market was going good at the time. You have to know what you have. We're always available. We're going to be available to bring speakers on to any topic you want to talk about. We're going to go back to Jack now, and I'm leaving it with my last plea, $11.11. And I really want to see these coming in because it shows we're doing our job. It shows that we care for you, and it shows you care about the work that's happening at North Shore TV. Now, this is a very important topic that Peter brought up, and I'm giving it back to you, Jack.
Terrific. So let's talk more about saving money. So it's the Live Healthy discount program. And again, the card is livehealthycard.com. So let me tell a little bit more about how it works. You can get discounts on vision, on dental services, hearing aids and screenings, diabetes supplies, pre-lab work, and just so much more. And for those who don't have medical coverage or are in need of prescription meds, this card could really, really be a lifeline. It's a discount card that has real savings and benefits for our 1.3 million residents. And one fun thing is the discounts apply to a variety of medications that can be used for pets as well. I know I love my pets have always been a big part of my family, and you know those costs for your pets can most certainly add up. So any little thing that we can do to save some money.
So this means anyone's eligible. You said 1.3 million. It's not just
That's
the
right.
seniors, any age.
Anybody's eligible.
Okay.
Anybody's eligible. It's livehealthycard.com. It's a great, easy way to save money at pharmacies and such all over the place. Not just here in Nassau County, but if you're on a trip somewhere and you're in another part of the country, there's over 66,000 pharmacies across the nation who accept this card. It's what happens when you go. We went in with the National Association of Counties, so it's a national program, and it's something that can really make a difference for folks. There's an average savings of about 30% on the retail price of prescription medications, so it can make a real difference. And check it out and see how it can be helpful for you.
I just want to touch on one thing before we go back to Peter's questions. I want to compliment you and thank you, because this is a program that in my wildest dream I never would have come out of an office like yours. I mean it sincerely. It should have come out of the health department or, some other division of the county, in my opinion. So when I heard about it, I'm saying that's a guy who's going above and beyond your job to make sure the residents of the county, get another benefit. Now I'll give it back to Peter.
No, I
enjoy saying that. I know you enjoy it.
I was just humana. I think what's fascinating about this is that you bring up so many things that we had no idea about. As being, as financial advisors, we know about the transparency issue, this prescription card, and as residents, we didn't know about it. Right. So I'm glad you're here with this. I have like a bunch of questions. I was really impressed with the sales tax and what's going on. What about the audit side of things?
Yes. So that is one of the things that when people think of a controller's office, one of the major things that you think of is audits, and we do audits of a variety of things. We have done, and I'll talk about a bunch of them, really quickly. So I'll say we started the first of its kind series of audits and chapters on nepotism, and looking at the way nepotism has impacted Nassau County government. And the reason I say that is because just like I got into government because I wanted to make a difference, it's so important that people are able to grow up, raise a family here, and get involved and have access to a job based on not who they know, but what they know, and that things are done on merit. And the New York State civil service system was designed, and you take tests to get jobs based on what you know, not who you know. But, as with all things, sometimes, some funny business can be at play. So we've been doing a series of audits on nepotism. Mindful of looking after tax dollars, we've also, looked at a variety of other things. In fact, we've saved, quite a bit of taxpayer dollars doing these audits, and it's something that we're proud of. I want to say, what's the latest number? I want to say over $170 million, if memory serves, and it's constantly going up. So I'm not always current on the latest number, but so we've looked at the Nassau County IDA, the Economic Development Engine of Nassau County, and they make investments in tax breaks in order to create jobs. And so we looked and asked the question, so are we getting the return on our investment that we want to see? Are we getting the jobs that we want to see? And the answer was, sometimes we weren't, sometimes we were. And now working with, sometimes audits are about, telling people what they've done wrong, right? But from our perspective, audits are also about saying, here's where we want to get to, right? Here's the opportunities for improvement. Now we're going to track your follow-up, and we're going to see not just what went wrong, but 6 months later, a year later, have you made it right? Are we, again, just like with our scorecard, what's now, of the issues we identified, which of them now are green? Which of them are yellow? Which of them are red, meaning you haven't done anything on it? With the Nassau County IDA, we've seen some real improvement even during our audit in the work that we've done. We looked at the way tax exemptions.
Just do me a favor.
Sure.
I know what IDA is. Explain what IDA is.
Thank
because
you.
people don't understand it, and it's a big issue today. For the last couple of years, it's been a big issue.
Exactly what it is, and,
Right.
and how separate from the government is it or not. Yeah.
It's the Nassau County Industrial Development Authority. It's the agency that does economic development for the county. And one of this agency's jobs, besides promoting tourism and supporting local businesses, one of this is to grant tax breaks to businesses to either stay here, to come here from elsewhere, to expand the amount of jobs, to do things like creating affordable housing. And we did an audit to measure not just their books, but how are those investments panning out, right? And are we being as diligent as we should in saying, okay, I've given you this money or this tax break in order to keep your company here, in order to attract your company here. But the return on behalf of the taxpayers of the investment is supposed to be job creation,
Right.
economic growth. Are we seeing those returns? And too often in the past, we weren't really seeing them, and nobody was really tracking them. And like all things in life, if you track it and you look at the numbers, you're more likely to see good results. But that wasn't happening often enough. It seems like they've made a big improvement in the last couple of years under the new leadership there, and I'm really impressed by it. So that's been something that's gone well.
I agree, because just to step in, that is important. It is something I do follow, and I agree. Just because you're giving these people, and I'm not talking small numbers, some of these people are getting millions and millions of dollars in tax relief and everything else, to find out they're still making the money, but this tax revenue is not coming back to us. I was like, well, what are we getting out of this? We gave you the money. We're helping you make more money. But as a county, we're not benefiting. I do see under the new leadership that things have improved dramatically. It's still going to be a little bit of a gamble here and there, because not everything can pan out.
Yep.
But at least you have to go in 100% honestly. Nothing is perfect, and we know that not every investment works out. But you have to go in saying, this in my heart should work out, not just here's $25 million and
That's right.
Walk away.
Absolutely. Along those lines, we've also looked at tax exemptions. Nassau County gives out tax exemptions. The one we're all most familiar with is STAR, right?
Okay.
Or seniors tax exemptions, or veterans tax exemptions, right? You get a little break on your taxes for some of those things. What people don't realize is there have been actually 62 different reasons you can get one of those tax breaks. And that's a lot of different reasons, including, in the olden days, it used to be miscellaneous was a big reason. That if you have 62 different reasons, we shouldn't see so much in the miscellaneous category. And so we looked at it to make sure that people were getting the tax exemptions fairly, because one of the things that people don't realize is if somebody gets a tax exemption that they shouldn't, it's not that they're getting a great deal out of the government. It's that their neighbor's now paying their tax bill, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Because if you have one budget as government, if I pay $10 less and you pay $10 less, Peter's paying $20 more.
I got you. That's okay.
Right. And so it's not like Vegas. You're not playing against the house, right? It's ultimately it's something that we all share as community members, and so we got to make sure that the pie is being divvied up fairly. In fact, we found that tax exemptions that were not being smartly done were costing people money, and that's not right. And so we see some progress finally on that and moving that in the right direction. So with our audits, like I said, our key is we identify the issues, we look at opportunities for improvement that's going to improve people's lives, save people money, and create better, better outcomes for our resident, better bang for our buck. And then we keep an eye on it after the audit, right? We do that follow-up and make sure that when we come back, we keep asking questions. Are you following the recommendations that we've given you? Are you implementing your corrective action plan so that some period of later we'll put it up, put up the sign. Okay, this, the after action is, the follow-up is, this much green, this much yellow, this much red on the progress. Just like when you watch a television show and they do the, let's see where this is a year later. Same thing, and that's such a valuable. A valuable thing. I like Shark Tank, and Shark Tank does that, right? You come back and say, let's see how this worked. Let's see how this worked out a year later. Did it work? Yeah. Did it not work? And that's what it's all about.
I think your analogy about playing against the house was tremendous, because people aren't paying attention. I get the benefit, you get the benefit, and Peter doesn't. You have to pay attention. But more importantly than that, it's almost like baseball. The Mets. Now, you two guys are Mets fans. And look what happened. From what I understand, things have gone bad.
This is coming from a guy who thinks Joe Namath still plays for the Mets.
Yeah. I just had to bring up the Mets because I know it annoys them. But I mean, here you have a situation where...
It doesn't annoy me.
They took their eye off the ball. Obviously, that's what happened. You're not taking your eye off the ball. They took their eye off the ball. Now the lineup is getting lousy. Nobody's getting hits. That sounds good, doesn't it?
It sounds good. Sounds wonderful. You're just repeating what we were talking about before we started the show.
That's all I do. Or I read the back page of the paper. Nobody knows what's going on with them.
Speaking of what's going on, I have a question. You talked about exemptions before, and the most popular one is a STAR exemption. What does it stand for? Because a lot, the STAR, and nobody really knows what it is.
I gotta say, I'll plead ignorance. I don't remember off the top of my head what the acronym stands for, but it is the most common tax exemption for the majority of homeowners. That apply for it, and I apologize.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. That's okay. There's a lot of numbers and stuff in my head, and sometimes something doesn't come up when you put it. But it's the most common one that most folks and if you're not and if you're not currently getting the STAR exemption and you think you might be eligible, you should take a look at that, because like I said, most folks are getting it. But the question is, you want to make sure as a homeowner you're getting everything that you're entitled to, and as government want to make sure that everything's being distributed fairly, and that folks are getting only what they're supposed to get, and they're not getting additional.
I just want to jump in with one thing in reference to the STAR program. There's two ways of going about it, and you can correct me. One, you can do it on your own, or you can hire an organization. But we've had people on programs, and it's not that difficult to do it. I'm not putting anybody out of business. If you cannot handle it and you're the person that just gets too confused with paperwork, they take a percentage if you win. So if you don't win any sort of a rebate or a deduction, you're not getting charged.
So that's a separate thing. That's regarding your tax assessments.
Okay.
If you want to grieve your tax assessment.
Sorry, that's not STAR.
And your description is 100% right for tax assessments. STAR it should be automatic from through New York State government.
I'm sorry.
I think STAR, either you qualify or you don't. That's it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And regarding the tax assessments, that's a subject that we've been looking at.
Forever.
We're doing a big audit on that right now. We did a previous one on the assessments of pilots, payments in lieu of taxes, that are done through those IDAs that we spoke about a few moments ago. But right now we're looking at that tax grievance process, because it's a kooky process that doesn't, most places don't have. You would think your house's value is what you pay your taxes on. But in Nassau County, folks have had to grieve their taxes more often, and more often than not, they do grieve their taxes. And that shouldn't have to happen. And it shouldn't be that if we live next door to each other and we have virtually identical houses, that we're paying pretty different taxes, right? It should be should be pretty equal. And again, if I pay more taxes than you, in that sense, I'm subsidizing you. It's not that I'm getting a great deal from the government. It's not just that I'm getting it's that my costs are being passed along to my neighbors, and I think we can all agree that that's.
And it's more difficult now than ever because of the disparity of homes on Long Island and all the construction that's gone on. You could have a neighborhood like where I am, and you could have a $500,000 house next to a $1 million house next to a $500,000 next to an $800,000, on and on.
Yep.
I can't imagine how that's assessed and staying accurate like that.
It's
Just Peter's in Syosset, so anybody watching the show knows the different
They know where to find me now.
Right, you're right. It's a complicated thing. You know, you think
It
about
is.
to the the days post World War II of Levittown, where it was sort of cookie cutter houses.
Right.
Different discussion, right, than it is today, where
Right.
you have the diversity of the housing stock that we do now.
Yeah, I mean, no one's putting up the same size house anymore. If it's common, there's pros and cons. I'm not judging. When a house gets knocked down, a new house goes up. It's twice the value, and it's sitting right next to a house with that original value. So I can't imagine how complicated it is. But that's like a whole nother show.
Right,
Doing the
but it behooves the homeowner, which is what Jack
do
is saying,
something.
to look into it.
Right.
I
The
confuse
homeowner
this
looks
lot, but,
into it,
you know.
and I think one of the important things is that the county is looking into it. You know, for 8 years, the county just froze the roll and didn't look into anything while the housing stock changed. And you know, like anything else in life, when you put your head in the sand for 8 years, things are going to get out of whack. And now I really credit the current administration for taking on this difficult issue and doing their level best to try to equal the playing field and bring everybody up to current. And that is not an easy process. It is not. It has been a bumpy process, and hopefully, you know, I think we're getting to a place now where things are beginning to make sense. We always have the right to grieve our taxes as taxpayers, and I think the hope is at some point we shouldn't have to, right? There should come a day where you feel confident in your house's value and that you're paying fair market value taxes, and we can all move forward that way.
I agree. And I also agree with what you said about Laura Curran. She had the nerve, the guts. Somebody has to do it. And each year it just gets passed on. And, you know, she's popular, even though she went against and she's trying to do it, because people know at the end of the day, it was the right thing to do. And actually, believe it or not, we're out of time. It's amazing how this flies. It really does. This has been a tremendous show, in my opinion, with Jack being here with us today and helping give information to our seniors. Financial strategies, we'll talk more and more as time goes on. You have our phone number, which we gave out before. If anybody wants a specific topic that they want discussed in the future, what's your number, Peter?
516-719-6396.
I like to give Peter's number out because this way it gets paid attention to immediately. And for now...
And the phone gets answered.
And the phone gets answered, that's for sure. But I want to end the show with something very simple, and that is, may the hand of a friend always be near with help and support, whether you need it or not. And today we had the hand of Jack with us, who was our Nassau County Comptroller, who has shared so much information. And we know that Jack is always there for us, and we wish you tremendous success. And more importantly, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Terrific.
Thanks for being here.